So we continue with the Samyutta Nikaya Suttas. Today is 21st of July, and we are on the 9th Samyutta, the 9th chapter, Vana Samyutta. The verses that have to do with the forest or the woods, those monks who lived in the woods, their experiences. So now we come to 9.13. It's on page 302. On one occasion, a number of monks were dwelling among the Kosalans in a certain woodland thicket. They were restless, puffed up, personally vain, rough-tongued, rambling in their talk, muddle-minded, without clear comprehension, unconcentrated, scatterbrained, loose in their sense faculties. Then the Devata that inhabited that woodland thicket, having compassion for those monks, desiring their good, desiring to stir up a sense of urgency in them, approached them and addressed them in verses. In the past, the monks lived happily, the disciples of Gotama. Without wishes, they sought their alms. Without wishes, they used their lodgings. Having known the world's impermanence, they made an end to suffering. But now, like headmen in a village, they make themselves hard to maintain. They eat and then lie down, infatuated in others' homes. Having reverently saluted the Sangha, I here speak only about some. They are rejected, without protector, become just like the dead. My statement is made with reference to those who dwell in negligence. As for those who dwell in diligence, to them I humbly pay homage. Then those monks, stirred up by that Devata, acquired a sense of urgency. This is another one of those suttas where the Deva, out of compassion for the lazy monks, come to stir them up so that they become more diligent. Because if they know that somebody is watching them, then they dare not become so lazy. 9.14. On one occasion, a certain monk was dwelling among the Kosalans in a certain woodland thicket. Now on that occasion, when he had returned from his alms round, after his meal, that monk used to descend into a pond and sniff a red lotus. Then the Devata that inhabited that woodland thicket, having compassion for that monk, desiring his good, desiring to stir up a sense of urgency in him, approached him and addressed him in verse. When you sniff this lotus flower, an item that has not been given, this is one factor of theft. You, dear sir, are a thief of scent. And the monk said, I do not take, I do not damage. I sniff the lotus from afar. So for what reason do you say that I am a thief of scent? One who digs up the lotus stalks, one who damages the flowers, one of such rough behavior, why is he not spoken to? And the Deva said, when a person is rough and fierce, badly soiled like a nursing cloth, I have nothing to say to him, but it's to you that I ought to speak. For a person without blemish, always in quest of purity, even a mere hair's tip of evil appears as big as a cloud. And the monk said, surely, Spirit, you understand me, and you have compassion for me. Please, Spirit, speak to me again whenever you see such a deed. And the Deva said, we don't live with your support, nor are we your hired servant. You, monk, should know for yourself the way to a good destination. Then that monk, stirred by that Devata, acquired a sense of urgency. That's the end of the sutta. You see, in our precepts, there is a precept that says what is not given to us, we should not take. So here, maybe that Deva could have been an ascetic or a monk before. He seems to know the precepts. So he advised this monk that what is not given to you, why do you steal the scent of the flower? And the monk said, I don't damage the flower, I only smell it. Why don't you go and criticize those who dig up the lotus stalks, who damage the flowers, etc. Then he said, those people are not worth speaking to. It probably means that even he speaks to them, they won't heed his advice. But he says, you are different now. You are quite pure. That's why I ought to speak to you. So the monk said, I appreciate that. And asked the Deva to advise him again. But the Deva said, I'm not your servant. So it's interesting. So now we come to the next chapter, Yakkha Samyutta. Discourses connected with Yakkhas. Yakkhas are a type of Devas. They belong to the lowest heaven and the second lowest heaven. The lowest heaven is under the Chatu Maharajikas, the 4 great kings. So these Yakkhas, they might be mountain spirits, cave spirits and all that. And they might also, even the Sakka Devaraja, the Tavatimsa heaven, I think those Devas are also sometimes called Yakkhas. 10.2. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Rajagaha on Mount Vulture Peak. Then the Yakkha, Sakka Namaka, approached the Blessed One and addressed him in verse. Having abandoned all the knots as one fully released, it isn't good for you, an ascetic, to be instructing others. And the Buddha said, if, O Sakka, for some reason, intimacy with anyone should arise, the wise man ought not to stir his mind with compassion towards such a person. But if with a mind clear and pure, he gives instructions to others, he does not become fettered by his compassion and sympathy. That's the end of the sutta. So here this Yakkha, these Yakkhas, because they have psychic power, they can read the minds of human beings. What we think, our thoughts, they can read. But they don't have the ability to judge deeply. So like in this case, he doesn't know that the Buddha is enlightened. So he thinks the Buddha is an ascetic. He should be meditating all the while. He should not be a busybody and teach others the Dhamma. And the Buddha says, if a person like him, he does not become fettered by his teaching, then it's all right for him to teach. 10.3. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Gaya at the Tankita bed, the haunt of the Yakkha Suchiloma. Now on that occasion, the Yakkha Kara and the Yakkha Suchiloma were passing by not far from the Blessed One. Then the Yakkha Kara said to the Yakkha Suchiloma, that is an ascetic. And the other replied, that is not an ascetic, that is a sham ascetic, a false ascetic. I'll soon find out whether he is an ascetic or a sham ascetic. Then the Yakkha Suchiloma approached the Blessed One and bent over the Blessed One. The Blessed One drew back. Then the Yakkha Suchiloma said to the Blessed One, are you afraid of me, ascetic? And the Buddha said, I'm not afraid of you, friend. It's just that your touch is evil. And the Yakkha said, I'll ask you a question, ascetic. If you won't answer me, I'll drive you insane, or I'll split your heart, or I'll grab you by the feet and hurl you across the Ganges. I'll stop here for a moment. Sometimes, like here, some of these devas, they threaten the Buddha or the Arahant monks. They say they can do 3 things. They can drive a human insane, or here it says, I'll split your heart. But in other places they say, I can pull your heart out from your body. And the third one, I can grab you by the feet and throw you across the mountain, or here throw you across the Ganges river. And the Buddha said, I do not see anyone in this world, friend, with its devas, Mara and Brahma. In this generation with its ascetics and Brahmins, its devas and humans, who could drive me insane or split my heart, or grab me by the feet and hurl me across the Ganges. But ask whatever you want, friend. And he asked, what is the source of lust and hatred? When spring discontent, delight and terror? That means, where does discontent, delight and terror arise from? Having arisen from what do the mind's thoughts toss one around as boys toss up a crow? And the Buddha said, lust and hatred have their source here. From this spring discontent, delight and terror. Having arisen from this, the mind's thoughts toss one around as boys toss up a crow. Sprung from affection, arisen from oneself, like the trunk-borne shoots of the banyan tree, manifold, clinging to sensual pleasures, like a maluva creeper stretched across the woods. Those who understand their source, they dispel it. Listen, O Yakkha. They cross this flood so hard to cross, and crossed before for no renewed existence. So that's the end of the sutta. This Yakkha is asking, where does lust and hatred come from? And discontent, delight and terror. So the Buddha said, it arises from oneself. That means from inside us. Inside us means inside our mind. So if we want to cut this lust and hatred, discontent and all that, we have to go back to the source inside us. I come to the next sutta, 10.5. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Savatthi in Jeta's grove, Anathapindika's park. Now on that occasion, a certain female lay follower had a son named Sanu, who had been possessed by a Yakkha. Then that female lay follower, lamenting on that occasion, recited these verses. With those who lead the holy life, who observe the Uposatha days, complete in 8 factors, on the 14th or 15th, and on the 8th of the fortnight, and during special periods, the Yakkhas do not spot around. So I have heard from the Arahants. But now today I see for myself the Yakkhas sporting with Sanu. Stop here for a moment. According to the commentary, this lady whose son is named Sanu, this Sanu was a Samanera. He had ordained with the intention of becoming a monk long term. But then there was discontent had arisen in his heart, and he was thinking of disrobing. So he came back to the house to see the mother and had this intention of telling the mother that she wanted to disrobe. And then this Yakkha who possessed him is supposed to be his mother from a previous life. So this Yakkha thought that Sanu, when Sanu wears the robe, she also gets the merit. But if Sanu disrobes, then it's also not good for her. So he wanted to discourage Sanu from disrobing, so he possessed Sanu, made him like crazy, like in a fit. The foam coming out of the mouth and all that. So the present life mother was alarmed. And then the present life mother exclaimed, Yakkhas normally do not possess monks who keep the Uposatha days. But how is it today? She sees for herself this Yakkha playing around with Sanu. And the Yakkha replied, with those who lead the holy life, who observe the Uposatha days, complete in 8 factors. 8 factors are the 8 precepts. On the 14th or 15th, and on the 8th of the fortnight. 8th of the fortnight is in the lunar calendar, is the 8th day and the 23rd day. And during special periods, the Yakkhas do not spot around. What you heard from the Arahants is good. When Sanu has awakened, tell him this injunction of the Yakkhas: do not do an evil deed, either openly or in secret. If you should do an evil deed, or if you are doing one now, you won't be free from